Hi creatives, my name is Sasha Gay Trusty and I am the founder and editor-in-chief of Quaint Revolt magazine. Today is very, very special as it marks the first episode of our brand new video series, Trial and Error. In these intimate discussions, we explore a particular moment with a figure from the African-Diaspora where they problem solved through trial and error. Join us as we unearth the magic of transitioning from thinker to creative change agent. Our inaugural episode features Caribbean businessman and co-founder of The Gathering Spot, TK Petersen. Let's go. Hi, TK.
How you doing, Sasha?
I'm well, how are you?
Doing very well. Happy to be here with you.
Thank you, I'm glad to have you.
Happy Saturday, right?
Yep, great day. So
Indeed.
I want to start with some quick fire questions, okay?
Let's do it.
Feel free to answer them as short or as long as possible,
Okay.
right? How do you live creatively?
The way I live creatively is I just try to bring forth every concept that I really like in my mind and try to work towards making it a reality.
Cute. So we know you're from St. Croix, right? But what's the first thing you have to eat when you get home?
Johnny cake.
Johnny cake. Okay. Lastly,
From my grandma.
from your grandma,
Yes.
specifically,
Yep.
grandma's only.
Yep.
Noted. All right. When you hear the words diasporic connection, how does it make you feel?
I just think about, African descendants all throughout the world and the different variations of culture that we have, but there's still the similarities that, all interconnect us.
Love that. Perfect answer. That's kind of like the core mission of what Quaint Revolt is. So
Yep.
thanks for that. All right. So let's dive into the heavy stuff, right?
Heavy. Let's do
I
it.
can imagine that creating TGS was difficult, especially
Yes.
in the beginning. Can you recall a particular moment that you guys just had to trial and error it?
The entire thing was trial and error from the start because the concept has never been seen before in this exact formulation. So from raising the money to get it, that was just trying stuff out because what we were raising money for is to build out this physical space, which is roughly 25,000 square feet. At the end of the day, ended up costing a little more than $3 million to do. And when we first started, we expected it would cost $1 million. And even then, when it was just trying to raise $1 million, that was difficult because you're going to high net worth individuals talking about, hey, this is a concept that I have. I'm looking for investment, but a big part of your concept is physical. And how can you show them a physical space when you don't have the money for a physical space? Gotcha. But then how can you get the money without having the space? So we really just, we bootstrapped as far as we could with the savings that each of us had, my business partner, Ryan.
Okay, what was that core selling point that won him over?
I think it was, at the end of the day, for most people who invest in early stage companies like we are, what they really are doing is they're betting on you, that you're a person who that they can trust with their resources and that you will return it X times. So we put forth the work and they saw that we had invested our own time, our own energy, and we kept pushing the envelope as far as we could even without investment. And then eventually someone we had been talking to for a while said, I'll give you X amount of dollars to get started. And then once you get one, you can tell people like, we already have some committed capital, and it gets a little easier.
Cool, love that. So how did you know? Knowing is very important.
Right.
Oprah always says like knowing. It's very different from anything else. How did you know putting in this work would be worth it?
Just faith, just trust. It's a feeling. It's like it was something's in your mind and you just believe that it'll work out and you just run to it.
Run to it. Okay. All right. In what ways do you think TGS is disruptive?
I think TGS is disruptive in the sense that it's very rare in, particularly for postgraduates, that you're surrounded by so many different types of people. So if you think about most individuals in our society, you graduate from your schooling, wherever that may be or whatever level that is, and then you start working. And then for the most part, you work in a particular industry and you spend 8 to X amount of hours per day there. And then after that, you maybe go to the gym, maybe get grocery shop, then you go home. So you kind of pretty much have like two areas that you interact in, your workspace and your home. And that's not, those two environments aren't ones where a lot of various types of people matriculate into. So you kind of get almost stifled inside of like your environment, the group of people that you interact with, because you got the same set of coworkers. You might add one or two people in a given year or so, and you meet people at industry functions and networking events for your profession.
Right.
But if you're an engineer, it's not too many times you're gonna run into someone that is a film director,
Right.
or someone who has no, you probably would run into someone that's a construction firm if you're an engineer. But would you run into a school teacher?
Probably
would you
not.
run into a doctor outside of needing their services? And it's disruptive to be connected like that. It's I think a big part of how many successful people become successful. They say this little phrase, your network is your wealth, and all those different things. And what TGS is doing is just giving you ability to continuously expand the base of people that you're around and interact with experts in all of these different fields.
Awesome. And I love that you said that, because for me, I've noticed, especially even in college, interdisciplinariness is like, it's the core. And even in my business, having to step outside of my scope to really bring in people from different industries that, don't necessarily fall in line with what we're doing, but having that range and perspective and experience definitely adds to it. So
I think it's always important to part of it is it puts you outside of your comfort zone. At least it should, because if you're a doctor, well, you're like the #1 expert in every interaction that you have for the most part. But now when you're talking to someone who is a painter, now you're in their world, and then it forces you, or at least should, to retain some humility and humbleness, because now you're learning about things that you didn't know about. And you get to the point where you realize that like no one is an island, and no one can really get far without everyone else's expertise.
Absolutely.
You could, if like someone like Jeff Bezos or something, if his plumbing doesn't work, I'm fairly confident he doesn't know how to fix that.
No, he doesn't.
And he's the world's richest man, but
Second now, Bill
oh
Gates.
yeah, Bill
just
Gates
beat
popped
him.
up on him. But even with all his money, if all of the world's plumbers go away, what's going to happen to it?
Absolutely. Love that. So one of the things I've noticed with you, especially through your Insta stories, you are very socially aware and very abreast to the political climate. Why is it important for you to showcase and, I guess, amplify certain causes?
Honestly, I just post things that I find interesting personally, and sometimes it's like to me it's like when I share a song that I like, it's like I think this is dope. I want like I think people should know about this, and that's what I'm doing, or and then I feel like I get the same thing that happens to me, like when I'm watching other people's stories or the content that they post. A lot of times it starts me on a little wormhole of learning about different things. So I just try to do the same thing, like dope content. It's like if something's dope, it should be shared for people to interact with. And then when it comes to more of the like heavier things that I share, I just find it to be things that are need to be like you should be aware of. You should discuss. You have to be aware of the political climate because it impacts everything that's going on.
Absolutely.
And if I see a movie that looks interesting, I'm like, hey, you should check this out.
So at the core, you act like a journalist, aim to inform the people.
Yeah, I never thought of it like that.
Okay. So we know you guys just got on with A3C and put on the first, I guess, festival with you guys' involvement.
Yeah.
How do y'all plan on innovating A3C?
Yeah, no, really just continuing to elevate the dialogue and the discourse that you have here, and really, pushing to elevate a platform that showcases the innovators and thought leaders throughout all of these various industries, particularly from our culture and community.
Okay. Something a little bit light.
Okay.
What book are you reading right now?
Ooh, that's a good question. That's a good question. I'm not really big on reading books. I prefer to read articles.
I do too.
And like slightly shorter text that is more focused
Get
on
to
a
the
thing.
point.
But some books that I got recently, the Black Vanguard. That's a great book that I have there. And then I also have the Centoya Brown book.
Okay.
So those are the two most recent books that I received.
Okay, as did I. I'm reading Toni Morrison, the collection of like essays, poems, and a mixture right now. I'm very late into her work, so I feel the need. I had to catch up in that way.
So a thing that I want to read is The Alchemist. I have a ton of people that tell me to read The Alchemist.
It's really good.
Fantastic.
It's really good. I haven't even finished it, and it's that good.
Oh, wow.
But if you're interested, I'm a self-help girl. You should definitely check into Osho.
Okay, I'll check that out.
Particularly, I would suggest starting with the Book of Understanding. It challenges your spiritual thought and all that good jazz. And I think you might be open to something like that.
I'd love to check that out.
Okay. You guys are expanding. Amazing. We like to think of Atlanta as the Black Mecca, but back in the day, it was D.C.
D.C., Chocolate City.
Yes. So why was it important for you guys to take this culture here and facilitate that in D.C.?
At the core of what the Gathering Spot is, it's all about, culture and community. And what we are pushed to do and driven to do is to expand that community as far as we can. So we actually conceived of the concept of the Gathering Spot in DC because we both went to school in DC, and that's where me and Ryan met. And our lives in DC and experiences there are what led to the creation of the concept. So it was quite natural for us to after finding success in Atlanta, which both of us believe this is the only market it would have been this successful in the first iteration at, and with that back end be able to take it to Washington D.C. where we have large personal networks, and it's not that far of a run from here, and a lot of our members already go back and forth between D.C. and Atlanta.
So it just made sense. Okay. What are some non-negotiables for you?
In what sense? Just in life period?
In life, yeah.
I don't eat pork.
You don't?
No, I don't do that.
Are you a Rastafarian?
Nah, okay. But I appreciate the sensibilities that they have. Something I always say, for most people, they have the spiritual leaders are priests and different things. And I grew up in Lutheran church. But at the same time, I've always looked at the Rastas as the spiritual leaders of our community that provide the liberty and the moral guidance.
Absolutely.
Particularly through the music.
Yeah, being from Jamaica, I grew up Anglican, so I've always been very opposed to organized religion, even from a young age. So I naturally gravitated towards those principles. And if we really look at the history of Rastafarianism, there is nothing ever violent or it was, even though they were treated poorly, they were treated poorly, but they never, kind of like how Black people, we never, reciprocated that type of energy, just kept the peace. Cute. All right, so when it's all said and done, I imagine you probably want to live out your days back in St. Croix. When you're pondering on everything you've done, everything you've accomplished with the Gathering Spot and elsewhere, what do you want to be most known and recognized for?
Me or the Gathering Spot?
You.
Me. I just want to be known as someone who was helpful. That's what I think of. Someone that was a good person and tried to help people as much as they can. I feel like I've been very fortunate and blessed to be able to be in the position I'm in because of people just having kindness in their heart and presenting me with opportunities. So I would like to be someone who return those opportunities to other people. I don't something I believe in personally is that there's no value in an individual win, and I would like to be able to say, or people feel like I was helpful in their success and in a group success.
Well, this concludes our conversation. Thanks again for allowing us to pick your brain and use you as the first guest for our series. So thanks for coming through.
It was an honor and a privilege to be invited. I hope it's not the last time.
I hope it's not either. I'm gonna hold you to that now.
Let's do it.
I hold people to